there, and welcome back to Japan and to the third of our Wisely Brother weekend listen-throughs with the song The Letter. As you probably know if you've been watching these by now, this is the review video. If you want to check out the reaction, pause this video, click the little link in the description below, which will open a separate little player where you can see the song and me watching it for the first time, just in case you've never heard the song before, or just in case you wanted to see how I reacted when I first heard it a few minutes prior to now. Ready? Can we get onto the review now? Have you watched that? Are we good? Okay, well, here comes the review anyway. This was kind of, this was exactly what I had kind of hoped and expected when I saw the rather fun, colourful thumbnail. Compared that to what I've obviously just heard in the previous two songs, most notably, and also just looked at the fact that it had only a tenth of the views of the one that we'd heard previously, which, like I say, you can probably notice I was fairly lukewarm and I liked it, but like I say, it wasn't the song I would necessarily come back round to. This song had that quality that perhaps doesn't get you the likeable plays that most of sort of jangly MOR bands get, and yet expresses something much more artistic that maybe, like I said, doesn't connect to as many people, but I think makes a song much more memorable for those who it does connect to. Coffee. So, what I think it must be said is that this song was just brimming with nice little ideas. Whether it be the way that it starts, I love that start, the way they use the little was it a xylophone or a glockenspiel? I can never remember which one's wood and which one's metal. It started with that sort of sound. Very interesting the way that was playing against the bass, and then just that was such a nice way. And then it comes in with the English vocals very simply. Oh, hello, how are you? It's nice. It kind of comes in a way that isn't very much like the first song, their 2014 song that we listened to first in this series for this weekend. It felt like it was being written less to obey the rules of being a song and more to convey a message, convey a feeling. And this one, moreover than that song, did it with also via using really good musical technique. It started with an intent. You can tell they started with an intention of what they wanted the song to be. It was playfully an idea that then was fleshed out musically. And you can just hear that in the way that everything corresponds. Everything about the sound corresponds to the whole tone. I was really impressed with her English, especially when she's singing. I mean, like I said, I don't know if she actually speaks English or if she just sort of written it and prepped it for this song, or if she's learning English, or just mediocre level or something. But whatever her level, even if she was fluent, I just think it was really nice the way she did it. It was delivered with a real, fantastically, sort of bounced on the beat perfectly. It was like hip hop. It was like rap. There was this really lovely way that it flowed to the beat. The beat itself was fantastic, and the verses, that wonderful beat, really sort of nice and trippy when it came in that first verse. Again, just this wonderful syncopation between everything. Everything clicked so nicely here. But I do think that in the first verse, just the way that it went from that simple, playful, deliberately not quite in time, sort of percussive xylophone glockenspiel thing against the bass, and then the beat comes in, suddenly everything's sharp and everything's precise, and you've got that sort of fun flow, but at the same time the vocals being sharply delivered as well. It was beautiful. I loved it. It was somewhere between rhythmically precise and musically relaxed and playful. Wonderful balance, which I think again really echoes what I felt in that first song, but here just developed to a much more heightened level. Good use of tone and everything. The idea of doing it as a letter, that sort of, a lot about this reminded me kind of a lot of actually 90s Britpop. There was a real 90s Britpop feel to a lot of things about this song, which I guess is kind of what you'd expect from that sort of jangly pop rock genre anyway. It reminds us a lot of indie rock from the 90s UK, but certainly it felt a lot like running a lot of Britpop, and that whole idea of having a song that's being read from a letter, again, that's a very sort of Britpoppy sort of thing to do, isn't it? Sort of songs that have a story and a little bit of a sort of twee medium, perhaps. So I love the tone of it. It worked really well. The chorus was so simple, but it did hit. It worked. And I think the main thing that worked is the way that it rounded out that sort of cadence, those last couple of chords, just the way it rounds out on the harmony and the vocals just at the end of the chorus, gives it a wonderful sort of rounded feel. It really feels like a brilliant payoff when you get that chorus. So you had a verse that was interesting and dynamic and clever and full of like wonderful ideas, but with a sort of simple, accessible human nature to it as well. And a chorus which was again simple but had the right punch, the right ability to connect and rounded off in a way that felt like a good musical payoff. Also liked again the second verse a lot like that first song. They were playful with the idea of slowing it down and having a little bit of a chilled out break, which very often I talk about songs that ramp up to the last chorus. You can do it the other way. You can sort of pull back and relax things, just which then gives the last chorus more impact again anyway. It's another way of doing it. Yeah, I just felt this was wonderfully full of ideas. And the video as well, as twee as it was, I don't know how much replay value videos like that really have, because it's a very simple story and, you know, there wasn't so much performance in it. So it maybe doesn't have a huge amount of replay value, but I thought that the sort of the very sort of old-fashioned 4x3 framing, the nice colour palette, the very sort of soft pastel colour palette thing going on there, it felt very much like it was trying to be a little bit old school as well, like the sound of the song was. I do think that was a nice video. Like I said, I don't know how much replay value it'll have, but it was nice. It felt in keeping with the tone. It felt kind of unique. It kind of just had a good feel on a low budget, you could tell, which I always love videos that do that. Take what you can clearly tell is not a high budget and turn it into something that just feels rewarding. So, yeah, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that greatly. I think probably the only thing that didn't work for me was that in the choruses, the chorus did feel a bit muddy. I think in their attempt to sound a little bit more old school, the mix was made a bit muddy, which sounded like they were trying to go for a slightly old school sound. But I think they should have sharpened that up a little bit more. I would have liked to have heard the guitars and the bass sounding a little more separate, a little less like they were being jammed on top of each other. I think there was a bit more room to give everything space to breathe, but I'm glad the vocals had space to breathe, and the beat kicked through quite nicely as well. It just felt like the sort of the middle range, the guitar, the bass, and everything felt a little bit squashed there. But that's a minor complaint overall. Like I say, it felt like that was a tonal choice, and it wasn't that it was bad, just wasn't what I personally would have gone for there. Otherwise, though, yeah, really interesting song, really engaging, really feels like I get the feeling from the first song coming through again in this, and I feel like this is a definite sign of a song that is, it just shows growth, but at the same time shows them really respecting the core identity of who they are and what they like to do, and keeping their personality in it, which is so important. So anyway, there's my opinions. I'd love to know what you guys think. Like I said, this song is obviously not as well known, not as popular, but that might just be because it hasn't got to as many ears. Maybe didn't get the same radio play because it's a little bit more twee, a little bit more different, a little bit unique. So I'd be intrigued to know what you guys think. Let me know, please. As always, liking, subscribing, and all those various things do help the YouTube gods, so greatly appreciated as well, if you don't mind. Do please let us know your opinions. Obviously, it's all about honest opinions. It's all about conversation. If you want to continue more of the conversation, do remember that we have all our other social medias linked in the description below. You can follow any of them. We have a good community of people who are always talking about Japanese music and other things, but usually Japanese music. A big thank you to anyone on our Patreon for keeping this whole thing going. Like I say, we're not monetized, so you guys really do keep the wolves from the door and the coffee in the cup, as well as the plastic spoon. It's gone cold now, but it still tastes good. And anyway, thank you for you making it through to the end of this waffly old video. So until I hopefully see you in Japan soon for the next one of these, for now, ciao ciao.